Well, welcome to today's webinar. This is Trent Cotney. I am CEO of Cotney Construction Law, and we've got a very interesting webinar that we're going to put on for you guys today. We are lucky enough to have the good people at Java Trade Technologies be here with us. And what I want to focus on today is document management to limit liability. But Eugene, guys, Scott, why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourself, tell everybody what your role is, and just give them a little bit of a foreshadowing of what we're going to talk about.
Sure. Good afternoon. My name is Scott Keith. I'm the CEO of Java Trade Technologies. We create roofing management software and services to help our customers run their roofing business. Eugene?
Yeah, my name is Eugene Zakowski. I'm product marketing manager for Java Trade Technologies. We're going to be walking you through today, showing you how Java can help you manage that document requirements, all that information in one single place, really help you guys out when you guys need that information quickly.
Great. And then what I want to do is talk to you about the legal aspects of stuff, what I look for. So we represent roofing contractors, all over the US and Canada. And when we are in disputes, or when we are asked to help with claims, even if we're, sort of shadowing it or behind the scenes, there's a variety of documentation that we need in order to help prove the claim. And that's what I'm going to kind of focus on today is make sure that everybody has sort of best practices, the SOPs needed to make sure that you have that critical documentation to defend against claims, prove against claims, manage subcontractors, all those key things. So let's get into it, okay? For those of you that have heard me talk in the past, I've got a bunch of sayings. I attribute that to my father, who has a country saying for almost everything there is. But I always say that the party with the best paper wins the day, okay? And in construction law, a lot of people, nobody likes lawyers, right? And the idea behind most lawyers is what people see on TV. And they think it's a lot of theatrics and it is some, obviously we do have to put on a good show, but at the end of the day, in order to prove a case in construction, it doesn't matter whether it's for a defect claim or if it's a lien claim or if you are trying to, defend against claims from the government, whatever it might be, you have to have good documentation. And when I say documentation, I don't just mean paper, I mean electronic. So we live in a world in construction where there's a document for everything. Okay, you think about your standard project, there's everything from change orders, contracts, releases, waivers, warranties. There's all kinds of documents that you have to be fluent with in order to make sure that you're, finishing out the project, completing the project, getting paid. Okay. So what I want to talk to you about a little bit is about using contract documents proactive rather than reactive. Okay, and if you do that, it's going to help you both use your contract as a sword and as a shield. Okay, and that's really going to help you, in the event that you have a claim that's against you, or if you need to go after someone else to try to get paid. Big believer in creating internal standard operating procedures and efficiencies to make sure that you have the administrative follow through needed to succeed. And what I mean by that is, we often get asked to come in and, write safety manuals or employee manuals or create new contracts. And we could do all that. I mean, I can give you the best looking contract you've ever seen. We can write it in calligraphy for you and get that wax seal on it. You can mount it and talk to your mom about it. But at the end of the day, if you aren't getting your people out in the field, the superintendents, the project managers, to monitor what's in that contract, it's a worthless piece of paper, okay? Meaning there are a variety of notice provisions, there are a variety of disclaimers, there's a variety of other things that are critical that must get conveyed from management down to the people in the field, okay? It's not the people on this call that are making mistakes. It's the people that are out there in the field, because their goal when they're out in the field is to get the work done. They don't have that liability hat on. They're not thinking about potential problems, potential issues that may pop up on job sites. That's management's job, that's our job. But what you can do through technology and through creating these, standard operating procedures and these policies is make sure that you're drilling that down. I'm lucky I work here with, John Kinney, who is a fabulous chief operating officer and our technical director, and he is really good at, you know, creating SOPs and policies and procedures. And what I always tell him is, look, if I go outside and I get hit by a bus, I want somebody to know exactly what it is that I do, and that they can take over and do that. And everybody's position should be the same exact way. You should be able to come in, know exactly what the former person did and how you can take that role over immediately. That creates efficiency so that you're not having to lose all that institutional knowledge that you had invested in the prior person. So understanding contract administration from a legal perspective, okay, and keep in mind, you guys are in the business of making money through construction, okay? We're a service provider, and what I'm looking at is how to limit your liability and risk. I don't want you to get sued. I don't want you to get into a dispute. So at the start of construction, the key thing that you need to do is focus on your contract. And one of the biggest issues I've seen is that a lot of management, they allow their salespeople to create the contract, or they allow their estimators to move forward with whatever contract they think they should move forward with. And not saying that that's necessarily horrible, but at the end of the day, estimators and salespeople aren't focused on liability. Okay, sales are focused on getting those numbers up so they get the highest commission possible. Estimators are more about making sure that they've estimated it correctly, but maybe missing some of the key legal components of a contract. So when we review contracts, and we review hundreds and hundreds a month, what I focus on are just the most critical elements of a contract. Okay, well, I don't go through and I'm not going to mark up your safety provision unless I see something really crazy, or your, you know, clean up the site provision. That kind of stuff is boilerplate. I'm not going to waste my time on that. That's not something that you're going to be able to negotiate really anyway. So what you need to focus on are a handful of key claims and items and contracts that really affect you. The number one thing is indemnification. Okay, indemnification is a killer. So the goal with this webinar and any webinar that I do is to help you issue spot. Okay, I don't need you to be a lawyer. What I need you to do is be able to identify the difficult positions in your contract and remember, hey, I remember Trent said something that indemnification was bad, and I need to do something about it. Okay, indemnification, what that is in layperson's terms, is it says that in the event that you, let's say you're a roofing subcontractor, okay, if you're a subcontractor out on a job and you cause a problem, then you agree to indemnify, to basically hold harmless your customer from your bad acts or omissions, okay? Now, oftentimes in agreements, you will see indemnification provisions that go beyond that, that will require you to indemnify your customer or the owner or the architect from their bad acts, whether they're, you know, partly at fault or wholly at fault. That's what I get heartburn over. That's what I like to revise. I think indemnification is fair. You know, look, growing up, if I did something wrong, I own it, right? I don't have any problem with that. But as soon as you start indemnifying other people for their own bad acts, that's where it becomes a problem. Contingent payment. Okay, many of you have, in certain states, they allow for what's known as a pay if paid clause. And that's a killer clause that you always need to watch out for. What that says is that you, the roofing sub, aren't going to get paid until the general contractor gets paid by the owner. Okay, and there's ways to edit that. There's ways to limit that. You want to focus on that. Okay, claims and delays. Anything that governs how you're going to submit for extra work or submit a claim, seek delays, whatever it might be, you need to go make sure that you're paying attention to those documents. During COVID-19, we have had a plethora of delay claims. And what's tough is a lot of times contractors don't pay attention, and they see that they're entitled to additional time, but they don't read the part that says that they're not entitled to additional costs for delay. That's known as a no damages for delay clause. Now, obviously, there's ways around that. I wouldn't have a job if I couldn't figure out a way around that. But at the end of the day, you need to watch out for that kind of stuff. And then critical is scope of work. Okay, 85% of disputes on projects are a result of not properly defining your scope of work. So for those of you that do residential, I see a handful of you on the line that I know pretty well. You know, I had a guy come into me 2 months ago with a dispute. His contract said re-roof. Okay, I know what a re-roof is. You know, John Kenny knows what a re-roof is. You guys know what a re-roof is. But from an owner's standpoint, re-roof includes replacing bad decking. Okay, from our standpoint, it doesn't. Now, what this contractor should have had is he should have had time and materials in his contract to cover replacing bad decking, and he didn't. Okay, so that creates a dispute. Pay attention to your scope of work. Talk to people about not only what you're going to do, but what you're not going to do. Addition on start of construction, bid bonds. Bid bonds are one of those things that you provide if you're doing commercial work or if you're doing public work, whatever it might be, and you provide this bid bond and you don't think twice about it. Well, it becomes a problem when you realize that your estimator missed a $250,000 line item. Then you're like, okay, I can't do this work. What do I have to do? Okay, and then, you know, the surety is going to take a pound of flesh out of your hide and you're going to owe some money at that point. So watch out for bid bonds. Watch out what, you know, for anything that requires you to guarantee your bid. Now, obviously, on public projects, you generally have a requirement to do that. Insurance requirements, okay? You definitely want to check any insurance requirements that you have on jobs. A lot of times, if you're dealing with customers, they may require stuff that exceed your coverage. So I always joke around that if you're in roofing, you need a good insurance agent, a good accountant, and a good lawyer to do business. Lean on your agent. You know, every time you get a contract of significant size, run it by your agent, make sure you got the proper coverage. Watch out for exclusions. You know, do you have a pollution exclusion? Are you paying attention to what's included in your CGL policy and what's not? That's going to be critical. And it's like everything. It's not a problem until it's a problem, and then it's a big problem. During construction, okay, you want to, most time if you're, you know, submitting in progress payments, and this doesn't matter whether it's residential or commercial, I gave an example of an AIA G702 payment application. That's a standard payment application form in commercial, but you know, you need to pay attention to that form because oftentimes you have to swear to the accuracy of what's stated in that. You get a clever lawyer on the other side and you made a mathematical mistake, they could say, okay, well, you just committed perjury. Okay, so you need to be very careful about what you put on those progress payment apps. You need to be able to monitor them. And let me talk to you a little bit about lien releases and waivers. Okay, be very, very careful when you are executing a partial lien release. Okay, partial lien releases have killed many a contractor's case because you have unintentionally waived your claims. It's important that when you get a lien release and you're asked to sign it, you are only releasing for what you're getting paid for. Okay, I love to see contingent lien releases, not unconditional. Okay, conditional lien releases are great because it says it's conditioned upon payment. Watch out for lien releases and waivers that waive through a date certain, because if you have an outstanding claim or an outstanding change order that hasn't been paid, you may end up inadvertently releasing that claim. So a lot of times what I do if I'm in the background is I handwrite on there, say, yeah, buddy, we're releasing all this, but check out this asterisk, which says, you know, change order number 36 is still up in the air and this release does not include that. Okay. Be a squeaky wheel. You know, if you've got an outstanding claim, if you think you have additional delay damages, whatever it might be, don't inadvertently screw up your case by signing a release. Okay, make sure you pay attention to that language. I draft a mean lien release, and for my roofing contractors that are using subs, for those subs, God bless you, because it is a monster subcontract that you know, I have basically, you have released over your children by the time you sign that lien release. So be very, very careful and cautious when you take a look at it. And the construction is really important. Okay, everybody loves you when you sign your contract. Everybody hates you by the end of that contract. And I'm being facetious, but oftentimes that's the way it is. So you need same analysis that I gave you of partial lien releases applies to final waivers and releases. Be very careful about what you're releasing and what you're not releasing. Are you releasing retainage? Are you releasing outstanding change directives or change orders that you haven't negotiated yet? Affidavits, okay, you may be required to provide a final payment affidavit saying that you paid everybody underneath you. Well, if you didn't pay everybody underneath you and you signed that, you got problems because you just signed a false statement, a sworn statement that's false, okay? And you know, all you got to do is watch the news to figure out what happens there. Warranties, okay, we run into warranty issues all of the time. All the time we run into them because the salespeople either oversell the product's capability, they offer warranties that they don't have, they can't get the year requirement. They say something is an NDL when really it's not. They use dissimilar materials, okay? They may use product A for a bottom layer underlayment and then a different layer, different manufacturer for a top layer, and there may not be the required approvals or whatever is needed to honor the warranties. So navigating warranty claims is always an issue. Okay? Don't wait to the end of the project to determine whether or not the manufacturer is going to get you the warranty. Make sure that you have open, honest discussions at the beginning. Make them your buddy. Okay. Claims. You want to really pay attention to claims when you're on a project. There's a variety of claims that you have to look out for. There's extras, time extensions, delays, and then recently, because of COVID-19, we've seen acceleration claims. So delay claims and acceleration are two sides of the same coin. Acceleration basically means that the owner or your customer has come to you and said, hey, this work that had to be done in a month, you need to do it in 2 weeks. So you guys are going to have to work overtime. You're going to have to work weekends. Well, that's going to cost you more money, right? So you need to check your contract on how you go about submitting those claims. And the critical thing, this is about document management. You got to have the documents that are there to support that claim. Okay? If you can't show by daily reports, by labor reports, when people were working and how they were working, then good luck getting paid on that. Change orders. When you're submitting change orders, you've got to submit the supporting documentation correctly. Okay. There are contractors that and owners that love to spit back change orders because the roofing contractor didn't include everything that needed to be included. Okay. Backup documentation, evidence of material cost, evidence of time, whatever it might be. You got to cross your T's and dot your I's. And look, if you're like me, I'm acutely aware of what my strengths are and what my weaknesses are. I try to surround myself with people that are a lot smarter and brighter than I am in the areas that I'm weak at. And if you're not a detail-oriented person, get somebody that is to watch out and make sure that they're submitting these change orders correctly, okay? Now, one of the things that we've seen over COVID-19 is how critical software is. Technology has taken over. And if you weren't using technology in the past, now is the time, and I think the future is going, regardless of what happens with COVID, I had discussions today where I just said, look, digital is the way to go. It's how the world is moving. So what I want to do now is turn it over to the great people over at Java, have them kind of explain some of the things that they can do from a software standpoint, because I think that what that will do is show you how you can use technology and help relieve some of the inefficiencies with using people versus technology. So Anna, go ahead and turn it over to them.
Yeah, thanks, Trent. These are great challenges, I think, that everybody's facing. And as a technology company, we're always looking at these same challenges and thinking about how can technology help, right? Because as you've shown here, that there's a lot of ways to identify solutions and best practices. And as we look at it, we always figure, how do we apply our software technology to give our customers the ability to consistently apply those solutions so that they are standardized, they're enforced, whether it's through data collection or document traction, and then also how to organize and retain that information when you need it, right? So you need the peace of mind to make sure that once we put in these best practices, once we have decided how we need to run our business, we look at our software that we offer and say, how can we help enforce those things so that our customers have peace of mind just to keep managing their business, and the information is available to them when they need it. So what we've done here is Eugene has opened up Java, and we've got a couple of areas we want to show you to hit on as examples of how you can collect information, standardize language, and retrieve it.
Yeah, thank you, Scott and Trent, for kind of letting me come in here and show this today. What I want to show you guys a little bit today is how we can go from the start of a project through all those different phases as we're managing it, and kind of have all of our information over in one place. So that way, when we need it, we can make sure everything's getting done and getting completed the way we need it to get processed on time and as everything is required. This is our Java landing page, and everything inside of Java is really built around the idea as to let's get people to work. So we have all of our tasks, our activities, our notifications, different types of information. So let everyone know when they log into the system, they're going to see what matters to accomplishing the work that they need to do. But in order to do that, we got to have clients, obviously, and some information in the system. And we're going to kind of work off this project here. When I review this sales tab, I'm going to open up a deal that I've created for this demonstration today and kind of review everything that we're going to help contractors perform and keep track of. So from the beginning of the deal, my salesperson is going to go ahead and set up all of their project information. When's the estimate due? What is the estimated deal amount? How am I looking for probability? Now, this is going to help a lot of ways, obviously, with sales tracking and other things. But then right below that, I'm starting to put together my project team. I'm assigning tasks to other users. I'm giving due dates, making sure that all of those tasks are being completed on time by the right people, allowing everything to sit here and see the entire life cycle of a project from the beginning, the middle, and the end. Another nice thing that we're allowing and helping our contractors keep track of is all of the communication on a project. So if I want to be able to track, as Trent said, not it's the best paper, but the paper isn't necessarily just paper today. It's emails, it's phone calls, it's meeting notes. It's that place to keep everything here so when you need it, you can easily access what the meeting was discussed, what was emailed over to your customer. I couldn't tell you how many hours I've spent in my career helping contractors just search through countless amounts of data just to collect emails so we can give them all to somebody like Trent to kind of help them get out of a pickle or a situation that they're in. So as long as everyone's in the system and using it, you'll be able to see all of that information in one central location. So when you guys need it, you can find it quickly. We're also going to help you store all of your project documents. So if I wanted to see everything that was submitted, so all the spec sheets that were used and submitted over to the project or the architect, if I had drawings or other architectural information, it's all in one place. So as your team is reviewing and needing this information, it's here for them, it's available, and it's always retained. So that way, when you need to be able to pull up that signed contract, or you need to make sure that the field has the correct information, like the correct blueprints, the correct project plan, all that information is here, it's ready to go, it's secured, and ready for your staff to be used as one central place to, again, manage all of that information. We also have the ability to capture, be able to capture other types of information. So as we were talking about, did we set up our bid bond? When was it saved and created for you? Who's my sub on this project? Did we capture the subcontractor's insurance information? What day was it received? So all those different standard operating procedures and other things that you guys need or are able to want to retain, we can set up that central place for you guys to put it in here, capture that information, and again, make it actionable and make sure everything's getting done and you guys have that follow-up and the paperwork to complete all that information. Another thing that was touched on here was that rogue salesperson, or they're trying to do what they can to really get that deal done. So they're going to either maybe mess with your terms and conditions or your contract language or things like that. What Java has is we have the ability to insert that correct language in all of your documents that get produced in your company. So inspection reports, bid proposals, work tickets, whatever it is, you guys can set up that central place of information. So that way, when we set up that new report, we know that the person that generated that inspection or that service ticket or that proposal, that the language that you guys want is automatically included in there. So again, nobody goes behind the scenes and changes something on you or makes you guys liable for something that you guys really weren't handled. And that's all part of the automated process. There's really nothing that anybody has to do to be able to make that happen. It just gets inserted and you guys have complete and total control over all of your language and your documentation. And again, everyone's using your guys' best practices. Another thing that was mentioned by Trent here is the ability to track time and cost and what materials were used inside the project. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into an example of reviewing all of that information back inside the office to make sure that the people in the field, the ones that aren't necessarily worried about the liability or the other issues, are doing what they're supposed to do. So as I jump in here, I can see that, for example, my safety checklist. Was the safety checklist signed, agreed to? Is everything in the right place and needed to be done? Were there any approvals or any communication back to the office that a superintendent approved somebody's action? So I have a complete paper trail, communication trail between the office and the field as well. The safety checklist, as you guys know, they're extremely important. We have some examples for you in the system, but you guys can also customize different safety checklists for different situations. If we're really worried about a COVID safety checklist or anything that needs to be done per customer's request before a job can start or before work can begin, you guys can communicate that automatically in the system and require your people in the field to make sure that they're actually doing everything that they need to and adhering to those best practices out in the field without ever having to leave the office, really. Another thing that was very important is the other types of information that we're capturing in the field. Are we getting good daily reporting? What happened on the project today? Where did we complete everything? Again, all of this information is going to be captured in the field and automatically brought back into the office for somebody to review and verify and see that that work is being done the way it's supposed to. We can also keep track in Java automatically as they're starting, the ability to track their punch-in times, their punch-out times, how much time did we spend, for example, in transportation versus actually being on a roof performing work, and track all that right inside the system here. And we also have the ability to track all those material costs, what materials were applied, what was used. If somebody had to go out in the field, for example, and purchase some material, we can easily track that receipt and that proof of what was paid. And again, all that information is automatically back into the system. Everything is ready to go. There's no real chance for anything to get lost as long as everyone's using the tools that you guys are going to be providing to them. And then again, all of it's going to come right back to the project level. You guys are going to be able to review everything. All that information will be available here for you. When you guys need it, it's really as simple as jumping into the application, reviewing all the different information, like the different documents that were available to the field, the tech, what was created by the field as well. And then this way, everything is in one central location for you guys, really helping to make sure that everyone's performing those best practices. With that, Trent, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay. So that was that shows you exactly how you can use technology to make your life a little bit easier, and that's kind of what. And with all the things that are getting thrown our way, you know, I've noticed that anytime I have an inefficiency in a process, I'm always trying to figure out, is there some way to streamline this through technology? So, you know, I think you guys kind of addressed a lot of that stuff with what you're doing with, you know, Java right now. So one of the things that I've kind of experienced, at least in the last few months, is we're getting more and more calls on accounts receivable going out. And I think AR is always an issue for contractors. It's something that bothers every business, but construction in particular, you're usually having to wait to get payment, you know, whether it's, you know, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever it might be. Even on residential projects, oftentimes you're having to be a squeaky wheel when it comes to contacting the customer over and over again. So managing your accounts receivable is absolutely critical. And again, not to sound like I'm harping on it, but creating standard operating procedures for your accounts receivable staff, that's the most important thing, okay? Because what you need to do is as a member of management, you have to be able to delegate, you have to make sure that stuff is getting done, and it's getting done in a manner that is consistent throughout the company. One of the things that I want to talk to you about today is accelerating that AR schedule. I am not necessarily concerned about the industry right now, okay? All the roofing contractors that I speak to on a daily basis, regardless of whether they're, in Florida or California or where they're at, and even from other industries, the people that I've talked to, it sounds like it's fairly much business as usual. Production is still up, AR is still decent. I think the areas that have been hit the hardest right now are new construction, the larger commercial projects, things like that. But a lot of the residential markets haven't necessarily been hit that bad. Okay, so you may not be fully experiencing the impacts of COVID-19 yet. But what I'm focused on, what I've been focused on since March is not now, it's September, October, November, December. Okay, what does the world look like then? What does the world look like when that unemployment insurance runs out, when that paycheck protection program loans run out? Where are we then? Okay, and you're already starting to see some squawking here and there. Okay, we've had a lot of high profile bankruptcies, JCPenney's, AMC Theater, Pier 1, you name it, a lot of these big box stores, that's just the start. Okay, a lot of business closures as a result of COVID. So when this happens, a lot of your customers that were paying you are either slow paying you or not paying you. So it's absolutely critical that you stay on top of deadlines, and more importantly, that you're monitoring your lien and your bond rights. Okay, now keep in mind, every single state has different lien law. Okay, so what's good in Florida is different in Texas, is different in Tennessee, is different in California. But generally speaking, every single state has some mechanism by which you can get a secured interest on a privately owned piece of property to protect your rights for the work that you perform. It's imperative that you know when those rights kick in. Okay, and what I want to do is kind of go through some timelines that we created to help you understand what I think you should be doing. Now, again, all this can be modified. This isn't a one size fits all type of thing, but I created this along with John Kenny, and we wanted to make sure that you had some understanding or at least thinking about these things. So let me go through this. We'll do a residential collection timeline, and then we'll do a commercial collection timeline. Okay, you start off when your payment is due. It may be when the final inspection occurs. It may be when you've completed work and given out the closeout documents. You send out all those affidavits and other things that are needed in order to get that final payment. And then if you haven't gotten paid after you submit it within 3 days, you email the customer asking them about satisfaction. Customer service and AR go hand in hand. So you want to make sure you've got a happy customer, and then send them a friendly link for payment. Okay, you want to be able to grab payment immediately. The more time and effort you require somebody to go through payment, the longer it's going to take for them to get paid. Okay, I'll give you a great example. Okay, I go home after working very long hours. I go home, I have dinner with my family, and then it's my job to make sure all the bills are paid, right? So the ones that I can go online and knock them out, those are always the ones that get done first because I can knock them out real quick. But if I got to pick up the phone, if I got to take an extra couple of steps, that's not going to get done on the weekend because I just don't want to deal with that. Same kind of thing applies to your business. Okay, you want people to be able to pay quickly. Okay, don't disincentivize payment ever. Even if it requires you eating 2%, 3% for a credit card payment, I would much rather have payment in hand than have to chase it. Okay, present value of money, right? After 5 days, email the customer stating, hey, we're ready to give you the warranties, but in order for us to give them to you, you got to pay me. Okay, and that's the thing, is you can always hold those warranties over their head because it gives you the opportunity to say, hey, we have this extra benefit, this extra value that we can give you, but we got to get paid. Okay, after 7 days, you got to pick up that phone and say, hey man, what's going on? Why am I not getting paid? Let me take your payment over the phone. We'll get this done. We'll get those warranties out to you. We love you. Everything's great. Okay. And then between 7 and 10, you want to start hitting them with the emails. Okay. And you can use client management software or other, or Java itself to help. And they're going to talk a little bit about the ability to really engage in almost a drip campaign where you're making sure that you are monitoring your AR and following through with it. From 12 to 25 days, and I'm not going to read through all of it, but basically the idea is that you keep being a squeaky wheel. Okay, you want to make sure that you get paid. At 20 days, that nasty gram from the lawyer comes out. I call it the pay up or die letter. Oftentimes, if people see a attorney letter, they get nervous, and that helps you get paid. At 30 days, you want to start really thinking about, getting that lien file. Okay. If not sooner, depending on which state you're in. Okay. Telephone call again, reach out again saying, hey, I got to get paid. And then from 45 to 60, think about filing suit. Okay. Pre-COVID, I'd say push that out to 120 plus. Now, basically whatever your AR timeline was, I would cut it in half. That would be my recommendation. And please do not be confused by this honeymoon period that we are in now. It will end. It will end. And then you will say, you know what? I thought Trent was crazy, but maybe he's not. And worst case scenario is we stay in a honeymoon for the rest of the year. And then guess what? You got a lot of money. Okay. So please just protect yourself. Right? Commercial timeline, more of the same, but you gotta look, I understand the realities of construction. Commercial is more difficult to get paid because, you go through a longer time process. You still want to be a squeaky wheel. So what you'll see here is that I've suggested a variety of techniques, either emailing or telephone calls with the customer to encourage them to get payment. Okay. At that 40-day time period, unless your contract provides otherwise, you want to get that demand letter out from your lawyer. And then, 30 days, you want to consider the recording of the lien. You want to, again, accelerate that time frame because that's what's going to get you paid. Don't wait for that general contractor to get paid by the owner. The more of that kind of stuff that you get out there, the better it is. Okay. And then finally, 55 to 75 days is when you want to seek, moving forward with suit if you've exercised all of these options. Keep in mind that lien claims and filing suit on lien claims is important because as more and more people and more customers file bankruptcy, a lien claim is a secured claim. Okay, and that can be the difference between you getting paid as a secured claimant and you getting paid as a non-secured claimant. So just a contract claim, which is what you have without a lien, that puts you in that non-secured category, which means you're probably not going to get paid a dime if somebody files for bankruptcy. So just be thinking about that. Again, customer service always wins the day, always wins the day. So you always lead with that. You always try to succeed with that. In the event that that does not work, then you can kind of fall back on some of these guidelines and timeframes. What I want to do now is turn it over to Java again, and they've got some really unique ways to manage AR and to kind of track it and ensure that you're getting paid. So guys, why don't you tell everybody about what you have going on over at Java?
All right. Well, kind of touching base a little bit on the flexibility and making sure that we keep that AR in focus and really set up to make sure that we can handle any type of environment. One thing that we've really done in Java is allow the ability for contractors to have flexibility in their payment terms or even their ability to manage all of that information. So as an example, I set up a new type of payment terms where it's different than our normal payment terms. I just call this one 15 days term. So if we want to be able to adjust on the fly or make changes to as the market changes or conditions adjust, Java's really set up to allow contractors to quickly modify and adjust to the market conditions. So in this case, I set up a new payment term of 15 days, and now this is going to be my new payment term that's automatically set up for my customers. So when I send out a new invoice or I set up a new contract, all that information is going to now be automatically as part of the contract unless somebody changes it. But the real thing is we really want to help contractors be flexible and adjust as they need to. If, for example, they have different payment terms for different types of customers, I've got a very large customer or I've got a really good relationship with them. Again, you guys can be as flexible with these payment terms and applying them in the system automatically. And the big plus with this is the person generating the invoices, the person that does this stuff, doesn't have to think about it. It's automatically going to be applied the right way. The system will start tracking, example, if I want to give a discount for prepayment, or if I want to start doing late fees because the payment is late, or if there's a bounce check fee, all that stuff happens automatically without anybody in your organization really having to worry about it or manage or take care of any of it. Another very unique feature for Java is the actual accounting, the back end, the ledger, how we handle all of those transactions in your system. So if you really want to make sure that that information that you guys are capturing in the field in the day-to-day work is really making it into the accounting platform, or that we're capturing everything properly, Java's accounting ledger is actually built to track everything from the time for labor, all of my materials, what my cost was, what I was selling this for, what are my accounts receivable, what other types of data do I need to be able to manage that accounting platform. If your accounting platform is really strong on AR management, we have that information ready to go into your accounting program the way it needs to go. So it's a real smooth transition between the people running the field work and the production work and the people handling accounts payable or accounts receivable, for example, on your accounting team. What we've also done is something that we really answered that our customers were asking us to do. A lot of times a situation arises and we hear a story where I keep doing work for a customer because the person answering the phone doesn't have a clue that that customer owes me money. So what we've done is we've really given that in-your-face notice, the fact that this customer is currently has a balance with me, or they are overdue and past due with me. The idea is if the people answering the phone understand what the rules are or what the risk is, they're going to make better decisions and maybe not take care of that customer, or say, hey, listen, we got an overdue balance we have to take care of before we could start performing any new work for you. The idea is to arm your people with the right information so they can make good decisions and help you guys run your business the way you guys need to run it. We also have this broken down at the client level. If you guys has a situation with a customer that we need some one-on-one, or I want to be able to quickly generate them because they showed up on my past due or my delinquency invoicing, I can quickly come in the system. I could review all of their payments, their history, their invoices, and even quickly generate a quick statement and get it over to them. It's really about simplicity and ease and the access to that information so we can give it to them. We are also working in our client portal, we are going to give it the ability for contractors to accept payments through our system. So as you invoice your customers and you send those invoices to them, they'll be able to review them and actually make that payment right through our platform. Again, like Trent said, the quicker you can get them that invoice, that payment, and a way to pay it, more likely they're going to pay it as soon as possible or right when it's in front of them and they're looking at it. Beyond that, we were kind of talking a little bit in here today also is managing our subcontractor information to make sure that our subs are out there as well, adhering to these best practices and other information is being captured in the field the right way. So as we have, as we're dealing with our subcontractors in the field, all of this information that's available to your staff, you guys can give to them as well. So if you guys want to make sure that they're performing those best practices, capturing that right information, the safety checklists are being done, that all that data that's being created and stored in the system is they're adhering to those standards as well. Your subcontractors can work with you guys in this system, but of course you guys can restrict access and other types of information to them. So Trent, that's kind of how Java's helping contractors today run through, their AR reporting. We do have some pretty powerful reporting tools built into the system where contractors can really look at their account history and see that data in live dashboards and things like that to really access all that information into one view to make good decisions.
Yeah, and that is exactly the kind of stuff that contractors need in order to make sure that they are focused on, collecting AR rather than trying to fumble through papers and trying to figure out what's what. I mean, that's one of the biggest issues that I've seen is just trying to figure out who owes what and reconciling accounts. So if you have all that at your fingertips through software like that, it makes your life a lot easier. Last topic I really want to talk about is managing subcontractors. And, through recent surveys that we've seen, and we've done some internal analysis as well, it looks like the majority of roofing contractors, regardless of whether they're residential or they are commercial, are using subcontract labor, okay? And it's become almost a mainstay. And it's very important that you are managing your subcontractors, not just from a means and method standpoint and from a safety standpoint, but also from a scheduling and payment standpoint. And I want to go over a few of those things with you. First is ensuring that all your contract documents are in order. Okay, and this sounds obvious, but oftentimes it's not. So what we recommend is really having a master subcontract agreement, especially if you're using, the same subs or using other subs. Now, obviously, I'm not going to get into whether a sub is really a sub or it's not just your employees, you're just calling them a sub. That's a different webinar. But from a logistics standpoint, it's good to have a master subcontract agreement along with proposals or notice to proceed for each job that tie back into that MSA. Okay, and that way, they only have to sign the, 15-page document once. From that point on, all they got is a 1-page notice to proceed, a proposal that has, price, location of the job, scope of work, that kind of stuff. Okay, and that's a good way to kind of keep up with your subcontract documents, make sure you have everything that you need in there. One of the things that we're often concerned with is liability when you are relying on sub labor. So oftentimes sub labor may come on and they may not properly tarp a job. We're in storm season here in Florida, and we're getting storms almost every day. When that happens, you need to make sure that you've got somebody that a sub crew that understands the importance of not only drying in a job, but properly tarping or securing a job before a storm comes. So checking their insurance requirements is critical. And a lot of contractors, roofing contractors and other trades I talk to, they talk about just relying on a COI, okay, certificate of insurance. And look, that's better than nothing. But honestly, I'm not even that tech savvy. I can get on a computer here and fake a COI in about 5 minutes. It's not very hard, especially if you've got, PDF Pro or something like that. So what I recommend is really asking for the policies. Ask for the policy, because then if you have the actual policy, it's going to give you some critical information. It's going to give you the name of the insurance company and the contact information for them. It's going to show you the expiration date. It's going to show you the exclusions. Okay, it's are you getting the Cadillac of insurance, or are you getting the 98 Toyota Corolla? Because that's oftentimes what you will get with sub labor, is they will get the bare minimum insurance, and then if something happens, guess who's on the hook? You, the roofing prime contractor. So make sure that you have really focused on, securing policies, because that helps identify exactly what's what. Same applies, I'm talking primarily about CGL, but also talking about workers' comp and any other type of policies that you might need on a project. Monitoring scheduling is critical, especially if you are running multiple crews. Okay, and a lot of contractors, anybody that's doing vertical construction, I've seen them use whiteboards, I've seen them use folder-based systems, I've seen all kinds of arts and crafts projects, to monitor scheduling, and all of that is great. But it's time to get into the new age, and the new age is using software and technology to handle all this, because all it takes is somebody to use a dry eraser to knock out your entire schedule, and that's what you don't want. Okay. Quality control, QC, is absolutely paramount anytime that you are using subs for anything. I don't care if this is the sub labor crew you've never worked with before, or if this is a reputable subcontractor that does almost as much business as you do. You've got to be able to monitor means and methods of construction so that you understand that things are being built in the manner and the way that you want them to be built. Okay. So, having a system in place where you've got a superintendent going out, engaging and creating reports that not only identify it to the customer what the status of completion is, but it also allows you to monitor and track that as a member of management. And then again, creating checklists. I'm a big believer in creating a system that is as close to foolproof as possible. Okay, you look for areas of failure. How can the system fail? And then that's what you want to shore up. Okay, creating checklists is one great way that you can ensure that whatever it is that you need from a subcontractor. So let's say you need, you need evidence of their insurance. You need them to sign the subcontract agreement. You need them to provide various other documentation in order to provide this project. You may need certain product specs or whatever it might be. You have all that on a checklist. So your people that are managing this, they know that this checklist needs to be completed. They have all the documents, and it creates, documentation that creates accountability. That's what it's about. So what I'd like to do, I guess, is talk a little bit about this from Java's standpoint. And Java, let me turn it over to you before we get to the conclusion. And what else do you guys have as far as managing subcontractors and kind of efficiencies related to that?
There's quite a few tools
Yeah, I
that
think,
we have. Oh, I'm sorry, Scott. Go ahead, please.
no, go ahead, Gene. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Something I'm really excited about, so I kind of jumped ahead of Scott. I apologize for that. But really what we've tried to do inside of Java is we understand that contractors are going to use subcontractors all the time. And not only are they trying to manage those subcontractors, they're also trying to manage their own crews and making sure, exactly like Trent said, that work is there, that they're doing things the right way, but also as far as scheduling goes, to make sure all of our customers are taken care of. So we've actually given a few tools to the contractors to be able to help do that. For example, here you guys can see on my screen right now, what I have is a calendar. It happens to be my service calendar, but from this view, I can actually see all of my subcontractors' work, how everybody's doing. I can kind of filter and really get a good grasp of how busy everybody is, what work is being completed, who's doing it. It's a real powerful, easy way visually to see all that information in one place. So again, we're really staying on top of what's happening and when it's happening. From a day-to-day scheduling aspect, we give a very powerful tool, I feel, that we call our Power Board. In this Power Board, it's really that communication gap to help schedule things efficiently, but as Trent said, customer service wins. A lot of the things that you're going to see here in the Power Board is really driven to help the people that are doing the scheduling understand things so they're making good decisions. Like the tickets being coded in red, whoever's looking at this is going to know this is a little more important or needs to get taken care of right away for our customer, and they're going to go ahead and schedule it over to the right crew. I can see what my internal crews are doing versus my subcontractor crews. So what we're really trying to do is make everything visual and easy, and this way everyone it's looking at it knows what decision they're making and why they're making it. So scheduling and taking care of all that information is paramount to making customers happy, and also making sure that what they're doing in the field is done. We can give we have the ability to create as many custom checklists as a contractor wants. You can have different checklists for different people or different customers. The system's really designed to be flexible, where you guys have complete control over your checklist and making sure that they're being followed and adhered to, again, when everybody's outside of the office. Another just quick thing I would like to show, I kind of glanced over it earlier when I was reviewing the beginning of the deal, but it's that vendor or that subcontractor checklist. Are we getting the right information? Are we getting is everything verified that everything's on file, that the dates are correct? Are we, named insured? Do we have a copy of the policy? This is just an example form that I put in the system to show for today, but you guys can create your own forms, your own needs, your own checklist based on the way you guys do business. We really want to make the system flexible, but also make it easy for you guys to capture that information and retain it. So you guys can pretty much set up whatever kind of checklist you guys need to make sure your standard operating procedures are being followed. And Scott, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, I think anyone listening today that's looked at technology or using some form of technology is, looking at this and potentially, trying to identify the challenge they've had in the past of adopting technology and using it. And I think one of the big distinctions people need to look at when they're evaluating how software can help them do what they're doing is the software set up in a structured way that every roofing company needs to adopt their process, or are there ways for the technology to be configured and the software to adopt to the roofing company? Because as everybody knows, while we're all in the roofing business, not any one roofing company is the same and running the same way, and that's where a lot of the challenges come into play. So we focus a lot of innovation around our software development, around creating a software that can adjust to the nuances of each office and setting it up and configuring it to the way they need to run their business. At the same time, enforcing their processes, creating standards so that the adoption of the technology, which is key, that you can start enforcing it and then making that information actionable. So that's my key takeaway.
Trent?
Okay. So I just want to wrap up here, and as I'm wrapping up, you know, if you guys have questions, please ask them. We'll stick around and answer whatever questions you have. One of the things and usually conclusions are toss-offs. This is not a toss-off, so I want you guys to pay attention to this because this is critical. Okay, you must figure out how to advocate through project documentation. Okay, most people, most contractors don't put a lot of effort or time into submitting claims, submitting change orders, submitting RFIs. That is your downfall. Okay, I know a contractor in particular that hired a very good writer, and their sole position is to advocate through RFIs. And why did he do that? And he talked to me and he said, look, the difference between me writing a good RFI and me not writing a good one, a request for information for those of you who don't know that, is the architect saying that it's extra work and me getting paid for it. Okay, so he said he basically that he's quantified that he gets 3 times the return on what he has to pay that guy to write RFIs. So you must learn to advocate in your change orders, in your documents, everything. Advocate, advocate, advocate. Remember, if it's good for you, put it in writing. If it's bad for you, pick up the phone. Don't use text messages because they're discoverable. Develop standard operating procedures. You should have a standard operating procedure for buying a pencil. Okay, and I'm being facetious, but you understand what I mean. The idea is that the more policies and procedures in place that you have, the less confusion there is. We are in a time of crisis. So anytime you've got crisis going on, you want to make sure that you know what to do and how to go about doing it. And then as Java showed you, you know, software and technology can really streamline everything for you. It can make your lives a lot better. You know, I've had the pleasure of knowing the people over at Java for a long time now. I like the product. We use the product. They do a great job at it. So, you know, it's something that I recommend that you guys look at. For those of you that don't know, and I know we have many subscribers that are on the line now, we have a very unique subscription plan that we offer our customers. And the idea behind it was I wanted to create a plan that was proactive rather than reactive. So for a set price every single month, you get unlimited services depending on which SKU you pick. Okay, so you could get a limited contract review, unlimited phone calls. Okay, think about that. Anybody in your office, not just you as management, but your project manager out in the field. If OSHA shows up to a job site, they don't have to go through 3 layers of red tape to get to an attorney to get advice to prevent them from getting a citation. They just go directly to us and we solve the problem. Okay, it's a better way to do business. The average savings is 53% off of billable hours, and we have many, many, many very happy customers. It's something that I'm very proud about. Recognize that you get exclusive discounts. We have affinity partners. We're proud to say that Java is one of our affinity partners. So as part of our subscriber list, you get a 10% discount off of any new Java services. If you are interested in this, you know, please reach out to customer service at cottonecl.com for more information, and we'll make sure to get you in touch with people over at Java. What I want to do now is answer any questions that we've got. And let me see here. I see one, and this is for Java. Does your software integrate with other software platforms?
Scott, I'm going to go ahead and answer that one. I know you might have had some technical issues. So yes, our platform is really designed from the ground up to be able to integrate with any other platform that really wants to integrate with, that is able to be integrated to. So if you have a CRM or an accounting platform or one of the many, many other tools that are out there and available to you, we are open and able to integrate with a lot of different platforms and technologies. So the simple answer is yes, we can integrate with other technologies.
Great.
And other tools.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the key things is you want your software programs to be able to communicate to each other. And again, I'm lucky if I can turn my monitor on at the beginning of the day, but all I want is I want stuff to work, right?
Yep.
So I know that that's one of the key things that a lot of people are looking for. So let me see, we have any other questions here? Oh, does Java offer access through your phone? Is there any kind of app or way to get access on your phone?
I'm back, Eugene. You want me to answer that?
Go ahead, please. Yeah, I didn't know for sure. I apologize.
No, I apologize. I lost power here, but we do have the ability to connect via phone. We've used a different technology though versus a standalone app. I think that was a popular solution a number of years back, but when we first created the architecture for Java, which has been now about 3 years ago, we employed a different technology caching data using the mobile device. And that actually there's some different trade-offs for that approach, but a lot of the upside approach is as we develop and innovate on our platform, it's automatically passed in through the mobile experience. Also allows us to get some of the advantages of using the mobile device as memory to get that information and work while you're offline, but not require, the trade-offs that you get when you create a mobile app that doesn't have the same functionality as the platform.
Great. Well, it looks like we've got one more question here. And the question is, if a contractor demands that you use a certain form of lien release, how do you get around that if you're concerned about waiving your payment? Okay, and what I always tell contractors when they call me is revert to the statutory form. Okay, many states have a statutory form for lien releases. Florida's a great example of one of them. And you can say, look, I'm not required to sign this. I'm required to sign what's here in the statute. I'll give you this one. The other thing that I recommend is using their form, but writing on it. Okay, and oftentimes you will get by the administrative person that's looking at that. So the key is don't be bullied into waiving your ability to get paid. So I want to thank everybody for attending. I want to thank Java. You guys did a great job, and we'll make this presentation available. We will circulate it to everybody here that's on the call, and we'll also get it up on social media and YouTube. So thank you again, and stay tuned for future webinars. We appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Trent.